So, we're going to do some science process skills today. Remember the test I gave you in science that you all failed? Yeah. I wanted you to fail it so you could learn. Most elementary teachers put science on the back burner, right? They teach literacy and math first. Science comes maybe third, we hope. Social studies maybe doesn't even pretend to rank. You do need to create this well-rounded student. I'm going to keep harping on that and preaching that to you, that kids love science, and they learn to problem solve through science. So I hope that when you're looking at curriculum, you think of ideas. How many of you know Omar Gonzalez? Many of you, okay? He's student teaching right now. Came last night and he said, I've got to teach this science lesson. I've got to teach this science lesson. I said, get to teach this science lesson. It will be fun. It's on waves. I don't want to teach on waves. There's nothing I can teach about waves. And I said, have you ever used a slinky? Have kids hold the end of it, watch the wave? That's so fun. Brought him down here. We made a wave out of straws and masking tape. Made it work. There's all kinds of things that you can teach that's not rocket science. Kids love to do hands-on. Get on the internet and look. There's lots of ways. But I hope you will always be kind of thinking about science and how kids view the world, how they learn about the world. So I'm reading the paper. Every morning I read the paper. I read the obituaries first to make sure my name's not there. Then I read the funnies second. Then I read my horoscope. And I'm supposed to have a really good day, so make that happen. This was in there. 3 Sierra sugar pines added to the list of the biggest trees in the world. Sugar pines. Never heard of a sugar pine. Heard of longleaf pines, I've heard of white pines, I've heard of bristlecone pines, and you know we talked about the bristlecone pine. They're older. They're the oldest trees in the world. These are the biggest trees in the world. What could I do with this in an elementary class? This article that I found yesterday. They are approximately 4.7 feet around.
How do they compare with like the redwoods? You could bring
Okay.
it up.
How do they compare with the redwoods? How would we find out about the redwoods?
I think it would be really fun to like map it out and see if the whole class could fit in it. Which I think
Awesome. Draw a circle that's 4.5 feet wide. That's how wide it is, so it's got to be 10 feet all the way around, right? Give or take. Estimate, right? Okay.
You could have like kids like link hands, and then you could have like the pine, sugar pine, and then like the redwood like around it, like the biggest.
Have them do a little research on big trees in the United States. So you're integrating math and science. Where do these trees grow? What do they need? Remember we made a tree. They are 4.7 feet across, 253 feet tall.
Yeah, I don't think most actually are tall.
Think about that. That's a huge tree. Anyway, sugar pine, and it shows these people sitting in front of them. I'd never heard of a sugar pine, so this was a little bit interesting to me. Some of you are going, really, Peggy? It's a tree. Get over it. I didn't always love science. When I started 4th grade, and my principal handed me all the core curriculum, and I brought some core curriculum, no, yes I did, to show you. So this is just a math core curriculum. So he handed me 7 of these books, math, science, whatever. And I went, what am I supposed to do with those, right? You need to start thinking, how can I integrate science? How can I integrate PE? How can I integrate art? How can I integrate all of this into literacy? Because literacy is your base. Start looking at things differently. Take notice of things around you. Stop and smell the roses once in a while. When you're racing up here because you're late from campus, do you know that on this campus alone we have all types of rocks? Sedimentary, igneous, metamorphic. That was on purpose. The geologists on campus placed those right out here in front of this building, or half of them. So if you walk out there and look, there's rock samples, right? They also strategically planted trees, different kinds of trees. You have just about every native tree to Utah on this campus. They did that on purpose so that we could study them. Beautiful campus too. So, in thinking about that, I want to encourage you to always be looking for a science connection. So I gave you that test. Pass along. This is partially that test on one piece of paper that gives you science and engineering practices. Next generation science standards, or SEED standards in Utah, are the science standards. Part of those, remember the big three? There was S&E's, Science and Engineering Practices, SEPs. There was CCC's, Cross-Cutting Concepts. There was DCI's, Disciplinary Core Ideas. This is just one sheet that will tell you about the science and engineering practices. I want you to look at these. Asking questions. Kindergartners, why is the sky blue? Why is your hair that way? Why did you wear those shoes? Why do you wear glasses? What's on your nose, right? And then we get to 3rd grade and we say, who can tell me the name of a tree? Crickets, right? Why does that change? Okay, what else? Why does that change? That's exactly right.
Teachers never encourage the questions, so they say, no, it doesn't matter just because.
Right, or I'll give you the answer later. So don't sweat it, right? We need to encourage questioning. Defining problems, what does that mean? Anybody have a problem today? I had a problem in that I'm sitting downstairs in room 103 and it's 4 minutes to 1. I know I have to teach at 1. My dean is up talking. Ooh. Do I get up and leave and be rude? Do I sit there and be late for class? What do I do? That's a problem. I had to think, okay, what's more important? You guys won. So I got up and went. Defining the problem and coming up with a solution. Sometimes you have to develop a model. Have you ever drawn a picture of something? When you've tried to figure out a poster or you're working a math problem, you draw a picture. Developing and using models, that's a model. I told you about Omar coming yesterday and needing a wave. We made a wave model so that he could show the kids what it looked like. Planning and carrying out an investigation. We will do some of this as we do these process skills. You get to fly little copters off the balcony, and there's several in these big bases out here. So that's for posterity when they come. Analyzing and interpreting data. Remember when I told you STEM? Math is the language of STEM. And when you're solving a problem, when you're trying to argue evidence, you have to have some data to back it up. If you don't, nobody believes you. So data, analyzing and interpreting data, using mathematics to computational thinking. Okay, how many dinosaurs would it take to fill this room? Have you ever read the book Counting on Ed? How many dogs will it take him to fill his room? So he measures his dog. And then he figures out how many dogs will take to fit in his dinner. How many peas? I'm talking the vegetable peas. So then he figures how many peas will take. How much ink is in a ballpoint pen? You ever had a kid do that? You need to give a kid something to do. Give them a brand new ballpoint pen and a piece of paper. Then have them measure it. I just say, better than writing words out of a dictionary, right? Constructing explanations and designing solutions. Engaging in argument. Do you know how much kids love to argue? My 4th graders, I had them argue, should we drain Lake Powell or should we not? They drew a slip of paper from what side they were on. Which side do you think won? Should we drain Lake Powell? How many of you say, yes, let it go back to its natural state? You have to vote. How many say no? You must be a bunch of Westerners. So I had them debate that. The side that said we should drain it won. Why? Why do you think? They were debating. The side that said we shouldn't drain it wrote on their popularity. Well, no, we're not going to drain it. Lake Powell's really fun. I go voting there every summer. We don't have to do any research. We got the popular vote. So I had several teachers come in and listen to the debates, and the side that said, yeah, we should drain it won because they did the research. They had to. Don't count on popular vote. Obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information. So we talked about that tree, that sugar pine tree. And we talked about what could we do with that? That's some information I gave them. Where could they find more information? Maybe online, right? Okay, on the back of that, what did I put on the back of that? Something important I remember. Oh, remember we watched the video about STEM. This is her triangle that talks about how STEM and STEAM come together. And it all comes together, all the subjects come together in helping students understand the world around them. So that triangle on the back is just a copy of what she gave you, what she showed you in that video. Okay. Sorry, switching gears really fast because I'm behind. I gave you this science process skills page, right? I want you to pull that out. If you don't have one, share one with a neighbor. Looks like this. Science process skills. It might have 2 kids on the bottom. Mine has a scientist. Oh, no, are we good? Can everybody see, kind of? Find it? Found it? Can everybody see, look off one, at least? Okay, for the next 2 science types, we're going to have this science, and then next week, where are we going to be?
GWA.
GWA. So today, we're going to get through 3 of these science process skills. Then we're going to skip a week, because we'll be at GWA. Then when we come back, I'll do the other 3. I am going to give you 2 or 3 examples of how to teach process skills. So those little mini lessons that you signed up for right up here, somewhere, mini lesson, motivation, science process skills, right here. Observing, inferring, predicting. You can do something similar to what I'm going to model. Does that make sense? Okay, I need somebody. Brooklyn, will you read that top paragraph, please?
Science process skills are the doing or process parts of science. These skills have often been used by students in science lab experiences, but may yet never have been defined. These skills are defined as a set of broadly transferable abilities appropriate to many science disciplines and reflective of the behavior of scientists.
Okay, so we want to teach kids that they can be a scientist. Remember the very first activity I had to do in science and had to draw a typical scientist? We want kids to know they can do science. I want you to underline, science process skills are the doing. It doesn't say the reading about. It doesn't say read and regurgitate about. It says the doing parts of science. These skills that I'm going to teach you are what scientists do every day. We're all scientists, right? Get that in your mind. I am a scientist. I am a scientist. Let your kids be scientists. So we're going to start with observing. Will somebody read? Cindy, will you read observing?
Using the 5 senses to find out about objects or events.
Okay, using the 5 senses. What are the 5 senses? Sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste. You are going to get with a partner. You're going to go outside. You won't freeze. It'll be okay. It'll be really good for you to get some fresh air. Okay, that was a management tip. Notice I didn't wait for them to complain. I told you why you could go outside. And it'll be okay. You and your partner, you need 1 pencil. You're going to take one of these clipboards. You are going to go outside, find a nature spot. You need to use your 5 senses as science tools to observe your surroundings. You're going to complete this worksheet. Use your eyes. What's 2 things that you can observe from your nature spot? Describe these 2 things that you see. What are 2 things that you hear? Describe these 2 things that you hear. Use your nose. What's 2 things that you smell? Describe the 2 things. Use your tongue. Do you want to taste something out there? Probably not, but you can. Pine needles are edible. You don't have to, but you could taste something if you wanted to. I'd be very careful with kids to tell them what they could taste and what. Dandelion, could they eat a dandelion? I would say small taste. You ever had those little Cheez-It weed things? Did anybody ever pick those? You could try those. Do I want them eating something poisonous? Just some kids. Oh no, just kidding. Then use your fingers, toes, skin to find out, to feel. Questions about this. Okay, everybody look at the clock. You have until 25 minutes to go outside, find a nature spot with your partner, and be back, because we're going to talk about these. Questions? Okay, come get a clipboard, one clipboard for partnership. Somebody needs to bring a pencil. Wait a minute. 25 minutes. Do you have a pencil? You have 10 minutes.
Rocks. Let's see if I list them. Does that count? Oh, right there, yeah. Rocks. Snow pile. Okay. Describe two things you see. Isn't that the same thing? Isn't that what we just did? Yeah, I think we just have to describe them now. The rocks are rough. It's an odd shape. The snow is dirty. Covered in dirt. Uneven. Probably cold and hard. Looks like it's in the melting process. Melting. Okay, now about the rock. Look at this rock. It's kind of cool. Oh, the colors are in that. What kind of rocks would these be called? Metamorphic? Yeah. Sedimentary? Sedimentary, metamorphic. I don't know. Igneous, because they're not. That was pretty cool too. I like that one. They're hard. Okay, next. How much time do we have? 8 minutes. Okay, we can hurry. Use your ears. What are two things you hear? The wind, leaves. Wind and leaves. Okay, describe the wind. It's blowing through the trees. It's blowing the leaves. Spray across the cement. Perfect. I don't like that sound. Fun fact. What are two things you smell? My mask. I don't know. I don't actually smell anything. Your mint. Gum. Does any of this smell? Little woodchucker smell? No. I don't smell anything. I smell fresh air. It feels nice. Yeah, I smell air and mint. How do you describe the air? It's fresh. Yeah, I really don't know. Yeah, we're skipping this one, right? What are two things I can feel in nature? I can feel a bush. The rocks are very rough and cold. She's so cute. That's about the rocks. It's cold on my butt. I know, it's very cold on my butt. They're pretty colorful. This one feels like, I'm describing how it feels, like sand. Sandy. There's ledges.
About 4 more minutes.
Done. Cool. Do we head back now? You can.
What is the first thing on your list? Okay, what's one thing that somebody saw? Come on.
Rocks.
Thanks, Brittany.
Pine needles.
Pine needles. Describe them.
Okay, they are dry and they're on the ground and they're brown.
Oh, dry and brown. Do you know I have a son that lives in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. They call that pine straw. They have these long needle pines and they gather that and they put it in their flower beds as decorative rock, like we would do decorative rock. So they call it pine straw. Okay, awesome. What else did somebody see?
The rocks.
The rocks.
The brown,
Right.
they didn't look really jagged. They looked more like they would be smooth in parts. They had little flakes, like if it got, you know, the frozen in the water freezes, it would continue to break them down into smaller pieces. They're kind of a combination between the orange and the red. So they really were not brown, but they're not a red, they're a blend. It's like you would blend brown with those two, you would get all the various shades.
Okay, so rocks. Can rocks be beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Can they be interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, especially if they've got a fossil in them, or where did they come from? Everyone should have a rock, that's a book. Okay, one more. Something that somebody saw.
We saw pine trees.
And describe them.
They were old and tall.
How do you know they're old?
Because they're tall.
Because they've grown a lot.
Yeah. And
Okay.
they had flaky bark.
Ooh.
And we thought maybe they were pinyon pines with the longer needles, but we were not positive about that.
Flaky bark, maybe pinions. Good job. Okay, what's the next one on there?
Oh, here you go.
Here. Okay, name one thing you've heard, somebody that hasn't shared.
We heard leaves on the ground,
And how did they sound?
rustly,
Rustling. How did you describe them?
scratchy.
Scratchy,
Sounding.
rustly. Can we make up words when we're describing? Sure. Okay, scratchy and rustly leaves on the ground. You heard them. What were you hearing? Were you walking on them? Were they blowing along the sidewalk?
Blowing.
They were blowing, so you heard them rustle along the concrete maybe? Okay, something somebody else heard.
We heard the wind blowing through the trees.
The wind blowing through the trees. Did you describe it?
We heard of the pine needles brushing up against and rubbing up against each other.
So they could tell the wind was blowing because of the pine needles moving against each other.
And we could hear as well.
Okay. What else did somebody hear?
We heard our footsteps on ice and leaves, so it was very clunky.
You heard your footsteps on ice and leaves. How did you know it was ice and leaves?
Through our observations.
Observations and prior knowledge.
Yeah.
These are dead leaves, that's ice. I'm walking through it. Okay, I heard a motorcycle out there. I didn't see the motorcycle. I didn't observe the motorcycle with my eyes. I heard it. How did I know it was a motorcycle?
How it sounds.
It is I've heard a motorcycle before, so it's a very distinct sound. Sometimes you can close your eyes and hear things and know exactly what it is, right? And you don't have to see it. I heard the furnace or whatever come on in this building. I just was standing right there by the door and I heard something. I assume it was the furnace, okay? Because I've heard a furnace click on. Okay, anybody else hear anything you want to share? That's a hard one, and it's a hard one to describe what you heard. Cha-chink, cha-chink. How would you describe the motorcycle? Okay, how am I going to write that? Lots of R's or something, right? Hard to describe. Okay, what's the next one?
Smell.
Smell. What's something you smelled?
We smell the pine.
Smelled the pine. What did it smell like? How did you describe it?
Fresh.
Oh,
Fresh pine.
fresh pine. Where do we?
Almost like
Kind of like what?
I said it smelled better than the incense, like the candle.
Oh, okay, better than the incense. Okay. Where do we know pine smell from?
From Christmas.
Christmas?
The mountains.
The mountains, but usually Christmas when we cut down the fir tree actually, but okay.
Yeah.
What else is pine scented?
Pine sol.
Like car freshener.
Yeah.
Your car freshener? Cleaning products usually have some kind of a pine
Yeah.
smell. They think that's a really fresh, good smell. Okay, what did somebody else smell? Come on. Morgan.
We also smelled dirt because there was like no, I'm not even kidding.
Not the same as us though.
It was like an overturned pile of dirt, so like you could smell like the soil.
And how did you describe it?
Rich.
Rich. Ooh, I would have described it as musty, maybe.
Ooh,
I don't know. Yours is rich, mine's musty. Anybody else smell dirt? How did you describe it?
Dirty
Dirty dirt.
It smells
I like it.
earth.
Do you know it's only dirt is soil in the wrong place? Soil is what creates life. Soil is the center of everything that grows, right? So you can start thinking about that. Okay, what's the next thing?
Your tongue.
Did anybody taste anything?
Nope.
Chicken.
the
Can you taste the air? Kind of.
Well, when you go in the city, it's just dirty.
Have you ever heard somebody say it, the air's so thick you can taste it?
Yeah.
In Salt Lake, sometimes they get an inversion, and it is so thick you can cut it. You can taste it. You can definitely smell it, which is associated with your taste, right? What you're smelling. Did anybody taste anything? Okay.
Tasted and just the sap on the tree.
Ooh, and how did it taste? Bitter. It's really bitter, isn't it? My grandpa would get the pine sap off the tree and he'd say, it's like gum, chew it long enough and it'll get, ooh, it never did get not bitter. It was always nasty. But I would walk with my grandpa, we'd go on a hike when everybody was deer hunting and we picked asparagus along the ditch banks. Has anybody ever done that? Grows wild.
In Pigwitch.
And in Canal.
Which is so gross.
But it grows wild, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
And we would pick it and taste it. My dad always had a long piece of hay in his mouth. He was always chewing on one while he's feeding the horses. At the end of it. Be careful what you have kids taste. You want to make sure it's safe. But someone will want to taste a few things, and that's okay. Okay, what's the next one? Feel. What's something somebody felt?
So Amanda felt pine cones and she said that they were like squishy in the middle because I think there was still like moisture in it, but they're crunchy on the outside.
Ooh, so more moisture in the middle and crunchy on the outside. Ooh, good description. What did somebody else feel?
We did the bark out around by the trees.
Okay, and?
They're not sharp. It's more dull, not really smooth, but not super rough. And it kind of also had a scent, you know, the moist,
right,
musky scent.
that the water kind of helps create.
Maintain it, yeah.
We've had moisture recently, so things are a little more fragrant because we've had a little snow, not enough. Okay, so the process skills. On this one, this is observation. You use your 5 senses to observe. How does it feel? How does it look? When you go to the doctor and you say, I've got a really bad sore throat. Looks down your throat, don't they usually feel? To see if your glands are swollen, right? Sometimes they will smell to see if there's an odor coming out. They probably don't taste it, right? But think about the different ways that kids function in the world. When you walk into an elementary classroom, you know if they're cooking broccoli. You don't have to see it. You don't have to see the menu. You know the smell of broccoli, do you not? You know when they're baking bread, right? Simply by scent. So get kids thinking, what are some things that you know just by smell? What are some things you know just by taste? What are some things you know just by feeling? And get them using those 5 senses. Do they get some different evidence by using a different sense? Okay, so I use this in my 4th grade class. I would send the kids out to the corner of a playground where I knew other kids wouldn't bother them. There was a chair out there. They would go out for 2 minutes individually and sit. We actually had 2 corners, and they would sit and they would fill out this paper. They had a timer with them. They knew 2 minutes. They'd come back in and tap the next person on the list. They knew who that was, had that all organized. I challenged them to see if they could see something that nobody else in the class saw, that nobody else in the class felt. So it made them look deeper, feel a little different, right? Be very cautious about taste. If you do something like that, I put things in bags, in brown paper bags, and had them touch and smell and, you know, that kind of thing, and try to distinguish. Make sure that it's safe. You know, make sure that they don't eat a red ant or something. Unless it's dipped in chocolate, then it's okay. So, I taught 4th grade. It was Plants and Animals of Utah. Jim Bounds used to be a biology professor here. He was my good buddy. And I said, Jim, a tree's a tree, is it not? Peggy, Peggy, no, trees are different. Okay, really, how? So he would go on my 4th grade field trips, and he would say, I'm going to teach you something. On an evergreen, what does that mean?
They stay green.
They stay green, and they bear cones usually. If you pull out the needles of an evergreen tree, and they come out in packets, and they're pointy. It is a pokey, pointed pine in packets. All pines needles pull out in packets of needles. So I can't just pull 1 needle, I get 2. Pull out a pine needle, check it out. That's not long. Okay, another one, he said, sharp. Is my right one? I have to make sure, yep. Sharp, square, single, spruce. This is a spruce tree. Pull a needle, roll it in your fingers. It's square, has 4 sides. Pull one of these needles out, roll it between your fingers. Sharp, single, square, spruce. And I have a paper I'll give you. Sharp, single, square, spruce. How would you know this was a spruce? Because of the color? Yeah, it was a blue spruce. Pull a needle, roll it between your fingers. You'll feel 4 distinct sides. They're sharp, are they not? They hurt. I picked it. I want you to know I got stabbed just for you guys. So square, sharp, single, spruce. So what's the other one?
Pokey pine packets.
Okay, now there's a third one.
Oh, I like spruce.
Flat, friendly, fir. Flat, the needle is flat. Friendly, fir.
Friendly?
Flat, friendly, your buddy, good friend, fir. they all coming around? Square spruce, friendly fir, pine in packets. Okay, then what's this evergreen? This is an evergreen too. That one's pretty. This is what Cedar City was named after.
Juniper.
How is juniper like cedar?
Because they thought they were
Juniper. They thought they were cedar trees. What are these called? They're not needles, but it's an evergreen. It has berries instead of cones. Scales. These are called scales. So this is a cedar tree. Okay, just kidding. It's a juniper tree. You can pull a needle or a piece off that if you want. So observing. Could you define, could you tell what kind of tree they are now if you had this cheat sheet with you?
Yeah.
And it was an evergreen tree? You've just earned part of your Junior Ranger badge. I know, you all want to be Junior Ranger. Okay, it's all about observing. So pass those around for a minute and then we'll move on to the next thing. I have a piece of paper that has this on that I will bring. We call the juniper the jokester because everybody thinks that it's a cedar tree. This is the nature spot lesson plan. And you walked outside and observed and used your 5 senses. And you can now identify an evergreen, other than just saying it's green. And someday you might want to be a Junior Ranger. You never know. Once you're through with the pulling out a needle, you can just throw those in the garbage and don't tell anybody that I did them. Okay, have you ever done this one? Look at the back of this.
Oh, yes, I'm so proud of those.
So it has colors, but this is green and it says blue. I'm going to pass you out one of these, and for 1 minute you're just going to say the color going across. So you're going to read the color, blue, red, orange, right? You can do that for 1 minute. Your partner's going to tally whether you get it right or not. Then you're going to do it again, and you're going to say what color it is. So I would say green, blue, purple, right? It's to confuse you. And to get you thinking about observing. So sorry. Okay, so you're going to read the words first. With your partner, choose who's going to read and who's going to tally. So we're reading the words first. What? We're reading the words. Okay, everybody stop. You're going to read the words. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Your partner's going to tally every one you got right. Every one you got right. Then you're going to switch places and your partner's going to read the words. Does that make sense? You're going to read them first, then your partner's going to read them. Then we're going to come back and you're going to say the color of the word. And then your partner's going to say the color. Okay, is everybody ready? You got a sheet that you can just tally on? You can use that yellow sheet if you want. Whatever works for you. Questions before we go? You know what you're doing? You're either reading or tallying. On your mark, get set, go.
Oh, do I keep going again? Oh, red, orange, yellow, green,
yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red, blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, pink, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red, blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, pink, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red, blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, pink, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red, blue, red, orange.
Stop. Okay. Okay, switch roles. The other person is going to tally now. Keep going, don't stop. Sorry, I should have said that before. On your mark. Everybody ready? Get set. Go.
Blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, pink, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red. Blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, pink, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red. Blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red. Blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, pink, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red. Blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red. Blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green, purple, yellow, pink, yellow, blue, black, red, purple, yellow, black, orange, red. Blue, red, orange, black, yellow, green.
Stop.
Yellow doesn't look
It's pretty equal.
What's 8 times 6?
Okay, now you're going to say the color name.
No.
So the first row, you would say green, blue, purple. Does that make sense?
Okay. Green, blue, purple, yellow, red, black, red, green, orange, purple, red, blue, blue, black, orange, red, green, yellow, green, blue, purple, yellow, red, black, red, orange, purple, red, blue, black, orange, red, green, yellow, green, blue, purple, yellow, red, black, red, green, orange, purple.
Okay, switch gears.
We got pretty quick.
Switch gears the other way. On your mark. Get set. Go.
Green, blue, purple, yellow, red, black, red, green, yellow, purple, red, blue, blue, black, yellow, red, green, yellow, green, blue, purple, yellow, red, black, red, green, yellow, purple, red, blue, black, yellow, red, green, yellow, green, blue, purple, yellow, red, black, red, green, yellow, purple, red, blue, black, yellow, green, red, purple, green, yellow, green, blue, purple, yellow.
Stop.
I did not.
Okay, what did you discover?
I realized it was only 3 yellows.
Was the first time harder or the second time? Did your eyes play tricks on you? Might be easier if you held it further away. I make it.
Oh, it's true. Oh, I should have taken my glasses off.
So I made this bigger and did it with elementary kids. They love it. This is something you could put in your bag of tricks and have them do. And have them practice a little bit. So you say just read the words or just read the color. They really struggle. So you can make them bigger and use them with the kids. But observing, sometimes our eyes play tricks on us, don't they? Sometimes we need to observe with more than just our eyes. Sometimes we need to use our brains and how we read. So that's a second one that you can do for observing. That's kind of a fun one. Any questions about that? Psychologists use this one to see whether you can switch left-right brain. You go back and forth. If you wanted to do the personality colors, does gold do better with this? Which one did you do better with? The color or the word, the actual word? How many did better with reading the word? So just about everybody. Yep, everybody did better with just reading the word instead of the color. How many were really close with the color word? Pretty close? You could take data, you could do mean, median, and mode. You could say the average. I mean, you could do a lot of things, and there's a lot of things out there on this study. And so that's just the second one that you could have. Now, I need 3 volunteers. You're going to turn these pictures, they're pictures of something over. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You're going to try to remember details. And then you're going to tell me what's going on in the picture. Does that make sense? So you're just going to have 30 seconds to look at it. You can't record anything, just in your mind. Does that make sense? So kind of find where there's a picture. And I will tell you. Ready? Go. Stop, put the picture down, face down. Okay, tell me one thing that you saw.
There are 5 people in line.
5 people.
There's a sign that says wait for next available ham and eggs.
Wait, there's a sign for next available ham and eggs.
Oh, there was a kid.
There was a kid. Just one kid or more than one?
Well, there was one in the front with a jacket and blue shirt, and then there was one with a mom.
Okay, so 2 kids. Of the 5, there were 2 kids.
Like one was kind of like an adolescent-ish.
Okay. So still just 5 people, would you all agree?
Just 5 people in line.
Just 5 people in line.
Yeah, and there was other and the one that like.
So 7 people total?
Yeah.
You sure?
I think there's 8 people.
8 people?
Because there's a kid in front, and then the guy, like, who's helping, and then there's like a
Okay, this
person
was a
back-
bank robbery. If you guys can't corroborate your stories, how many? Okay, no.
Kid in front. First guy with the mouse on his hat.
Oh,
and
mouse
then
on
mom
his
and
hat.
daughter, and then green shirt and purple together, and then a green hat behind the thing and the color.
Okay. Okay, what time was it?
25. So, yeah, just after the one and just before it.
So what time was it?
The one, like 25.
Okay, 1:25, 27. Oh, 2:27. They got their stories straight? Thanks, guys. Tell me what you think this was a picture of.
Us?
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Like waiting for ham and eggs, so.
The restaurant?
Movie?
Yeah.
Movie?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Waiting in line for something.
Yeah, we couldn't tell.
Ham and
what it
eggs,
was.
apparently.
The one guy had a ticket, so it could have been a movie.
Did you notice the jar?
No. I noticed the jar, but I couldn't tell what was in it.
I don't know either. Okay, this picture is really a nonsense picture. So this is what they were looking at. I don't know that it makes sense. I would have first told you it was a bank, and there was a bank teller, right? What do you think it is? The DMV, then why are they waiting for ham and eggs? Is that the name of someone? Okay, there is a jar right here. It looks like she has money or worms. Not so sure. Here's a kid, here's a kid, here's a kid peeking in the window. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You remember 8? So when there's an accident or a crime committed, what do our minds do? Fight or flight, right? We either hurry and look away and hide, or we want to get right in the middle of it and fight, right? But what do our minds do about details?
We lose them.
We lose them completely, especially if we're in peril of some kind. if we're worried about something. We lose those details, and somebody else says it was a yellow car. Was it? Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it was yellow when it was blue the whole time. Was it 1:30 or was it 2:30? I don't know. But observing for detail, talking to your kids to observe for detail. I would ask them now, if I had time, for you to write down some questions about what you think's going on. What do you think's happening in this picture? I think this little boy looks a little chagrined, like he's done something, maybe a little not so good. This little girl is looking at this little boy. Then you got this kid peeking in the window. What's he doing? Is he casing the place? I don't know. I don't know. Could be any variety of things. This picture is not for you to make sense of. This picture is for you to say, not so sure what happened. So you can look at the picture and tell me what you think it's about. So look at the picture. Tell me exactly what you think's happening. How could I integrate this with language arts? Have them write a scenario. Creative writing.
In 6th grade, they gave us like this weird picture of something.
That's what I'm doing.
Creative story. It's fun.
It is fun. So look at the picture. It's on the back of this first page.
Hey, ask her what time is it?
At least you knew there was a clock. 2 of them kind of looked like, maybe. So 1:27, that was pretty dang close. How many are women?
Counting the little girl.
3? What about that first person in line? You don't think that's a woman?
Yep, I do.
Yes? No? Yes? Did you see something on her hat? On his hat? On the hat?
Yes.
Why is she wearing Why is she wearing slippers?
I don't know. Why is she wearing them? And what are the slippers?
They look like
What's that sock?
Mice or rabbits?
I don't think any of them have regular shoes on.
Maybe What about the boy outside? What's he doing?
He's waiting for his dad.
Which one's his dad
I think
then?
it's the first person in line. They look alike.
Oh, okay, yeah. Could be. She's a little, or he's a little more yellow.
Yeah.
If I ask you nationalities, what would you tell me? Or cultures?
Italian, maybe,
Yeah,
with
the
the cashier guy.
The clerk?
Right, because these 3 are all, okay, so this is dad and mom, and these are their 2 kids, and this kid is super embarrassed by what these guys are wearing.
That's it. That's it. Does this kid have chicken pox or are those freckles?
Freckles.
Maybe.
red freckles.
I don't know. Maybe there's a pandemic in this picture. They're not wearing masks. Does anybody look like they're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one?
The lady.
The last 2.
The lady in the back, the lady and the man look like they're having a conversation, and she's pretty animated. Why?
I don't know, but she's happy.
She's talking with her hands. We don't walk around like this, usually, right?
Unless somebody's holding a gun to you.
Okay, this is something to have your kids think about. This would be fun. You'll notice on the back sheet of that, I've given you a place for you to write, to have kids write about it. You can show any picture. It doesn't have to be this picture, but it's just a prompt to get kids writing. What did you observe? You could show this picture on the overhead and show it for 15 seconds and have them write details. And then say make up a story about it. Now, who's right? Does anybody write? No, we don't know what's going on in this picture simply by watching, looking at it, right? Observing it with our eyes. We'd have to ask some questions. So getting them to dig a little deeper for information. Okay, that's observing. You have 3 lesson plans for observing, right? The walk. You have 3 lesson plans for observing. We walked outside. right? You did a little nature walk. You looked at the picture and you looked at the colors and the words. Now we're going to switch to inferring. What is inferring? Who can read inferring? Who's got this sheet? Will you read inferring?
Inferring. Making an educated guess about an object or event based on previously gathered data or information from past experiences.
Making an educated guess using data from a past experience. Okay, somebody read predicting. Who will read predicting? Will you read predicting?
Stating the outcome of a future event based on a pattern or evidence.
What's the difference between inferring, predicting? Aren't they the same?
Well, inferring is from the past, predicting the future.
Predicting's from the future. You're predicting what's going to happen. When you infer from past events. That's hard for kids. That's hard for some of you. I've seen your eyes glaze over. You're going, who cares? What's the difference? Where else do you infer or predict? Language arts?
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was just asking you a question like, so is inferring like past like experience, but is like predicting like present information that's given to you? And then, okay.
However, you can look at data and predict the future, right?
Yeah. But past, but is it given to you right then? Is that what?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So I have a funny story for my kids. I bring home, my husband gets screws by the pound, so he brings them home in a paper bag.
Right.
And one day I went to the store and we got candy, like just like the little, used to be penny candies, like Tootsie Rolls.
Oh,
And my kids were like, what's in the bag? It's not heavy like nails, because you usually bring
They're not the
screws and nails.
screws.
I put it on the shelf and made them write about it for a week. It was awesome.
Gosh. Guess
So we had
what's
so
in the
many
bag?
questions. Yeah.
Okay,
And then I
so
got a treat.
they were trying to predict what was in the bag, but they used some inferring from previous experiences because they had seen Dad bring home little brown paper bags of nails and screws. Does that make sense? But they were going to predict what's in the bag. They were in the future going to say what's in the bag. We're going to do some activities from each now, just to kind of get you thinking. These are tree cookies. They are not edible, Sean. You can't eat them. If you call the Forest Service, Dixie National Forest, they will make you some tree cookies like this. They won't be sanded, but they will be trees of Utah. This is a man-made hole. I used these for science camp. Kids wrote their name on them, okay? I want you to take out a tree cookie and I want you to think, look at the tree and think about the story of the tree. Okay, what do we know about trees? The rings. Does everybody know about the rings? The rings in the trees tell you how old they are. What if the rings are far apart? What does that mean? They grew a lot, so there was plenty of water and food and sunshine and the things we need to grow a plant. What if the rings are really close together? Drought? Possibly, most likely a drought, or they're crowded in a forest and don't have any nutrients. They're not getting nutrients. So take a tree cookie. Here's some little magnifying glasses. I want you to kind of tell me a story about your tree. You want to look at these? There's just some magnifying glasses. You can pass them along. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to take Rebecca's tree. Look at this big spot in the middle. That's a story, is it not, about this tree? It's not the same color. What do we think? What would cause that? I don't know. The tree and I don't know each other. So I'm going to say maybe disease. Or maybe it didn't grow at all for the first few years and then it got some more water. Or maybe whatever was creating this disease died. I don't know. That's just my thought. So just take about 5 minutes. Look at your tree, smell your tree, feel your tree. Use your observing skills. But then I want you to really think about, I want you to infer, what do you think happened to this tree? Tell the story just a little bit. Just jot down 3 or 4 sentences about it. Do you think it had a parent tree? Why do you think it's the shape it is? What caused some of the marks on it? This inferring paper. Here's a way to get kids putting their thoughts. What are your observations? Okay, I observed that this tree is oblong. See this one that I have? Kind of oblong. To me, that means it had to push out from somewhere and grow up. It couldn't get to the sun, so it moved itself kind of from its base. That made it oblong. There's a little niche right here that I think was a branch. Nobody's going to tell you you're right or wrong, but so I would put, oh, there's a little knob on the edge, it's oblong, it's very smooth. I would write some of my observations. Okay, what can I infer from that? Needed sunshine, so it jetted out from somewhere to get sunshine. Tell me one thing, Brooklyn, about your tree.
Mine is kind of at a slant.
Ooh.
Like it has this weird angle
Oh,
going on.
okay.
And there's like this little flat part right here.
Okay.
So I said that a rock got shifted and pushed against it so that it had to go at a weird angle.
Oh, good inferring. Okay, she knows that a rock could move, that they don't stay in place, and that it might impede the growth of that tree grew. Okay, Sierra.
So mine has some like gray accents that almost reminded me of like a forest fire. Like it looks kind of charred, but that was just the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay, so some kind of gray places that could be ash or satin ash or something from a forest fire. Okay, Haley.
Mine's missing some bark.
Ooh.
So the way it broke off, I think that it came off after it became like a tree cookie.
Okay.
But
If
yeah,
it was a brand new tree cookie, what else could we say? Maybe an animal ate it. That's what I was thinking. That's why I went, maybe it was a beaver tree. You know? I don't know. That's where my mind went. Judith.
I noticed that in my cookie, if I held it away, it was easy to see different color grouping of rings, but when I got up close, it was so hard
They were so close.
that you couldn't differentiate. So when I put it further away, I could see like this 1/4 inch is all light tan, this one is like more dark, and the color variations were in groups of not just one ring, but like a group to where it's like, okay, for say the span of 4 or 5 years, it had moisture and it was fine, and then there was a drought for 4 or 5 years, and
color.
yeah, and it's super solid, just a solid type of wood where it's not as.
So you could do a little research and say what trees are solid, what
Right.
trees are so closely compacted,
Yeah.
their cells together. Yeah, Abby.
So one of the rings is really thick on like one side, but then thin on the other. So like maybe during that time, this side wasn't getting nutrients, so it didn't grow as much.
Ooh, that's interesting. Hers is interesting, I think, because it's got a darker. What is this mark in here? A birthmark? No. Where do we get syrup from?
Maple trees.
Maple trees. How do we get it?
You pump it.
They put a tap in the spout and they pull. Could that be from us? I don't know. I made that up. So I don't know. Could be. Okay, tell me about yours.
Okay, it has a weird.
That is weird.
scar.
This is like a wishbone right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
What's that comes from? I don't know. What do
I
you
didn't
think?
know we had to do realistic stories.
You don't have to.
Okay, his name's Joshua, the tree, you know.
Yep.
And he was being threatened with a knife, with an axe.
Ooh.
He was emotionally and physically scarred. Some time had passed, and he grew out of his, because he he grew out of it. And then, and then he got cut down. That was my ending. But yeah.
Okay, did you go there? For sure, for sure. But have them put some factual information, because there's always factual information even when we write stories, right? A little bit of factual. Rebecca, what?
I kind of went the same route as Brittany, and I made a story about the dark spot, and
Ooh,
I
the
thought
dark
maybe
side.
it was because in the middle it was a young tree, and then as it got older, it got lighter because when you get old, your hair gets lighter.
More wise.
No comment.
I said more wise.
So that was my story.
Hey, I like it. It's an older tree, a grandpa tree or a grandma tree, and it kind of grayed as it got older. I like it. Sean?
So mine has a really weird, like, knot almost, but before you mentioned the branch, I thought of like a disease, but it looks more like it was like a branch. But the funny thing is the rings are circle until it gets to that knot, and then it grows towards the knot.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So the rings totally turn.
So it was pretty bad damage that it can't grow through it. Interesting. I don't know. Tortured tree. Sure.
So I noticed mine is really, really light colored, and all the rings are pretty light colored as well. And they look to be pretty evenly spaced out until the outer edges of the cookie. So I was thinking it had a fair amount of nutrients in the very beginning, and then towards the end of its life, it started to not gain a lot of nutrients.
So it was either in a drought or it had been cut down and left laying?
Yeah.
I don't know. Cool. Sydney?
So mine's kind of like long and slender. So
like
maybe,
me.
Maybe it was like a skinny tree.
Oh, okay. Or a young tree, maybe?
Yep.
I don't know. Hers is very oval-esque. I don't know what the right word is. Okay.
So mine has this little stripe in the middle that's like dark brown, and so it might have grown up around something, like a plant, or it might have like kind of died and revived itself. I don't know.
If you look out here, you can see the ivy growing up the trees. I have a daughter that lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they are covered by vines, all the trees. I mean, you can't see the bark. And I wonder, what effect does that have on them? That's cool. Sarah?
So mine has like little tiny holes out around the edge, so bugs probably got in there and were eating at the tree.
Poor tree. Yeah. Is a tree a home to other organisms? I mean, think about ants and bugs and deer and mountain lions and beaver and squirrels, and think about everything that lives, that survives around trees. Amanda?
So mine is like a disc almost.
Ooh, a frisbee.
Yeah. So I said it grew crooked because its center is not a circle, and it has a couple of Mars that look like its neighbor rubbed up against it, and then on this side it looks like someone tried to carve their initials in it.
Could have. You never know. If you go up Cedar Mountain and you just drive up this road out here, you can see trees growing right out of the side of the mountain, right out of the rock. How did that happen? They have to adapt. And where do we get soil? From rocks. So somewhere deep in there's some soil that it's pulling out of, even though it's growing between rocks. Sam, what about your tree?
So mine is split.
Oh.
And so I thought that maybe it was from being really, really dry.
Dual personality. No, just kidding.
And I know wood splits after, like I'm sure it could have split after too, but we're saying it was really dry while it's still growing. And then it has this little flaw, I don't know what you call this right here. And I thought the only thing I could really think of is like maybe it could be from the bark beetles.
Could be.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know that every tree, you've heard about the bark beetles on Cedar Mountain, right? They only are the Engelmann spruce. So they're only in Engelmann spruce. Every tree has its own species of bark beetle. The problem with the Engelmann spruce is that species, there was no way to kill the species and it overproduced, and so that's why the Engelmann spruce are the only variety of trees that died from bark beetle on the mountain. I had no idea. Somebody had to teach me that. But it's interesting when you get looking at how nature takes care of nature.
So my tree is like darkened on like 3/4 of it, and then it's like light. And I went the unrealistic route. And I wrote a story how it was hidden in a grove, and it was searching for the light, and it could just barely peek over it on
Just
the
every
east
once
side.
in a while.
So it could see the sun when it rises, and then it was so happy, and it was having the time of his life. And then these couples would come in the morning, and they'd write their, because there's little notches too, where they wrote their initials. And he was so happy on that one side because he got to see love and the sun, but then his dark side shadowed most of his life.
And we hope the dark doesn't take over the light.
Yes.
Got it, that's good. Astrid.
Well, mine has this notch right here, and then as it goes in, it's kind of like dented in right here. So I don't know if it like got hit by something because there is a little mark right there.
No.
Lightning, yeah. Or like, I don't know, if someone tried to carve something, or if it got damaged when they cut it down. But
That is interesting.
right there.
Isn't it amazing what you can infer that's happened to a tree with a little bit of knowledge? What were you going to say, Sean?
I've got a question. Do they cut these at 45-degree angles? Because I'm assuming my tree would be growing like that, right?
I have no idea.
Mine is probably straight.
Mine's perfect.
I would tell you that they go in and they cut down certain trees and then they just chop them up and bring the tree cookies to you. These are called tree cookies, and if you call Dixie National Forest, they will bring you a variety of tree cookies. These we use for name tags at science camp. That's why I have them. You can also buy them at any tree place because they cut up the tree branches. But kind of a fun way to infer what's happened to this tree. Happened in the past, right? The tree is no longer exists. So you're looking at a piece of the tree and inferring, what do you think happened to this tree? Why did it get its marks on it? Where was the drought? Where was the good years that it grew? So that's inferring. Let me see what else I got for you. I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to look at this picture. I'm going to hand this out to you. And on this page right here, I want you to tell what you think happened in this picture. So here you're going to just write, what do you think happened? If you don't want to write on your copy, you can write on a piece of paper. But I want you to tell me what happened in the picture. I want you to infer, because it's already happened. It's in the past, already happened. What do you think happened? There's two here. Will you share with Sean? I think there's two. couple more minutes. And we'll have some of you share what you think happened. Grab this bag, put your 350s in there. And then we'll find glasses. In your picture. What do you think?
Okay, so these two boys are twins, right?
Okay.
And they're playing with this new airplane that they're so stoked about. And then, so this is their pet dog. So the dog was playing with the ball, and he jumped up on the table and he ran into the plane and the plane broke. But then we found out that, so this cat, this is a stray cat. It was a very, very sad stray cat. And it was chilling on the tree outside. And the cat saw all of this, and he was so amazed by everything that was happening, and he just really wanted that ball, so he jumped in the house, and then he was no longer a stray cat, and they loved him for forever. And the dog is looking real sad because he was in timeout.
Okay, she's inferring a lot, right? She's inferring that the dog's been reprimanded, he's been scolded, so he's pouting.
So sad. Yeah.
Looks so sad. The boys are twins, because they're about the same size, right? How do you know the cat could jump through the window? Oh, the curtains are open and they're blowing. Are they really moving? Can you see them moving?
They don't sit like that.
Okay, so you're inferring because you have some prior knowledge about how curtains react in the wind. Okay, who else has a story a little bit different maybe? What have you got?
Mine's kind of similar, but the boys had this plane and they found it broken, so they yelled at the dog. And then the dog hid. They re-glued the plane and left it. And then they heard it break again, so they came running and they found the cat had jumped through the window and that the dog had been blameless all along.
Okay, so the plane has broken, right? It was broken in the past. It didn't just break, but, so she thinks the cat broke it again, they glued it back together. Rebecca, what do you think?
I think that the dog broke the plane in an attempt to get attention from the boys who paid too much attention to the cat.
Oh, jealousy, jealousy. So the dog wanted to get even and broke the plane. Morgan.
I hate cats, so.
Tell us how you
They're
really
evil. What? They are really evil. Anyways, one boy left the window open.
Oh.
Let the gusty wind in. So the cat knocked over the boy's airplane off the table where it broke with help from the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog is sad because the cat is mean to its two masters, and the cat doesn't care. Which is why it's playing with the ball.
Because the cats are very aloof.
Because they're evil.
I mean,
Sarah,
I
what do you
don't like
think?
either, but I gave it a new home. So.
I just said that someone from outside threw the toy airplane through the window
Oh.
into the house and it broke.
That's interesting. So she thinks someone outside. We know the plane's been broken. We know there's a dog and a cat. We know that there's a ball. Isn't there a ball in there somewhere? Okay, so there's several things going on that you could twist this just about anyway. But you have, this has all happened in the past, and now you're there going, what happened? Not what's going to happen, what happened? So inferring is from the past. Something's happened and you have to figure out what. Now, I'm going to do a little predicting. This is water, just plain water from that very sink. I want you to watch me pour this in. I'm going to make it just as full as I can. Is that pretty full?
Mm-hmm. Not a lot more.
What do you think? Pretty full?
Make it like go above it.
Okay, that's pretty dang full, right? You can see the bubble on the top, you know, it's kind of... Okay, somewhere on a secret piece of paper, I want you to write, I want you to predict how many paper clips can I drop in there, and I'm going to drop them from right here before it overflows. Please write that down. How many large paper clips can I drop in this cup of water that is uber full before it overflows?
So we're writing the number before it happens.
Yep. How many?
The number.
How many can I drop in before it overflows?
Okay.
Predict how many.
Okay.
Everybody got a prediction?
Oh, you're gonna have more than that's gonna make my number different.
Woo. I don't dare add any more. If you want to change it, you can change it.
For you.
Okay, how many did you say, Brooklyn?
I said 8.
8.
I said 3.
3. 4. 4. 10. How many? 8. Did you say 10?
15.
10.
3. 6.
15. 12.
5.
3.
How many did you say?
Okay, you 15ers, stand up. Are they crazy? What don't they know that you want them to know?
They're large.
It's a large paper clip, and that cup's really full. Do you want to stick with 15?
She's just trying to scare you. Don't fall for it.
It's really 20.
You want to stick with it? Rest of the class, do you think they're crazy?
No.
Okay, you can sit down. Well, I don't know, 15. Who said 3? Stand up, you 3ers. Okay, what do you know? What are you thinking, you 3ers?
Say yours.
I said if something goes water displacement, something goes in, something has to come out.
Oh, water displacement. Good thinking. You must be a scientist.
Not typically.
Okay. What do you think? Why 3?
There's just a lot of water.
There is a lot of water, and you watch me pour a little more in, right?
Yeah.
So common sense, if you overfill something, it's going to flow over, right? Did you have any other thoughts of why 3?
And when you drop it from high, I could just picture it splattering.
Splattering out. Okay, that's going to be interesting. So you have predicted. You have your prediction. You can look at your prediction. Here we go. 1. Any water? 2. 3. How you feeling? 4.
I don't think it's us.
This is us.
No, this is it's not because we guys.
5.
We just lost.
6, 7. I got bored. Anybody want to change there?
No.
8.
25.
9. 10. 11. 12. 13. Want to change?
Wait.
I'm magic. You've always known that. Wonder Woman. 14.
Yes.
15. Uh-oh.
So start the mound.
16. 17. 18. 19. 20.
Okay, mine's 100.
Okay. Okay, she wants to change to 100. 21.
Oh, wait.
Wait, I already
22.
counted a lot.
23, 24. 25. 26. 27. 28, 29. 30. Is it ever going to overflow?
Yeah.
31. 32. You can fit almost 100. Paper
Oh,
clips in
Brittany, you
here.
were right.
Why? Your predictions were all wrong. Why?
Because we don't have background knowledge on.
Because you don't have the background knowledge, but the knowledge you have is when you overfill something, it's going to overflow. Right? Water likes itself. Water clings to itself. Do you know you can get 30 drops of water on the top of a penny? Because it adheres to itself. Right? Now, what would kids ask? What about marbles? What about pennies? What about rocks? What do you think would happen?
They're more dense.
They're more dense.
More surface area.
Surface area? Okay, so would you let them try that?
Yes.
All I'm out is a cup and water, right? What a great thing to get kids thinking about. Why do you think this happened? The tension, the surface tension of water, because it likes itself, right? Have you ever done the experiment where you have water and you put pepper in the top of the water and then you drop some liquid dish soap in the because it doesn't like the dish soap. The dish soap is made to break up water, to break up grease, right? So the surface tension holds this together. You can get almost 100 paper clips if you're careful into a cup that size. Does that not awe kids? For sure, and get them thinking. Now look at the predictions. So I could take all the 3s and the 5s and the 8s and up to the 15. I could do a mean, median, and mode, couldn't I? And say, which of you were right? I had the highest and the lowest stand up so that we could make fun of them. No, so that we could say, look at the difference. And why do you think this? Is that important to ask kids? What's your evidence? What's your thinking? Why are you thinking that that will happen? This is kind of fun. You can use little paper clips and you really can drop them from above. Nothing happens, does it? How fun is that for kids? So think about that. If you want to do more research on that, it's fun. I have given you the write-up here. Then, here's a little worksheet. You can let them try other things. I would let them try things like pennies, marbles, rocks. Think about your bag of tricks that you're going to take to GWA next week. Would this not be cool to write about? To awe them just a little, that boy, you are magical. Now I always have a kid say, that's special water. It's not special water. You put something in that. No. So then I empty this and have them fill it from the sink and do it again. Oh, it's not special water. Well, there's special paper clips. Okay, go down to the office, get a box, ask the secretary. No, they're not special paper clips. Water likes itself. You can do an eyedropper and a penny. Let them try that and do 32 drops of water. 60, I don't know. Anyway, so many drops of water will fit on the top of a penny. That's a fun one to do too. But predicting. Predicting, you use data, right? So we have this average, and now what would we do? Oh, we're going to do this. So the next predicting is you're going to make a beautiful butterfly. Right? Did everybody get one?
Yep. Yeah, I just kind of split papers apart for a second.
So, I bought these number 4 coffee filters. I want you to pass a couple of these around. Just feel them. Feel it. Pass it around, open it up. Just kind of get a sense. Oh, feel that one. Just kind of feel it, pass it along.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about it? What does it feel like?
Rough paper.
Rough? It's paper though, right? Would you say it's paper? Now for kids in Utah, they don't know about brewing coffee, a lot of them. So I would explain, you put coffee beans that look just like beans, kind of, in here, and you dump hot water over them, and you heat it a little, and then the moisture that comes out is coffee, because it's from the coffee beans. So what would you say about this? What does this remind you of? What kind of paper? Kind of like our paper towel, cheap paper towel maybe? I mean, that's the paper towel out of the paper towel holder right there. It's similar, right?
Or like watercolor.
Watercolor paper, maybe? Okay, if I put this in water, what would it do?
Get wet.
It would soak it up. Or what's another word for soak it up?
Absorb.
Absorb. So it's going to absorb it. Okay, so I'm going to cut. You'll notice that we have two seams, a seam and a seam, right? Because this is kind of like a cup. I'm going to leave this bottom seam intact, but I'm going to cut out a beautiful butterfly. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off this side seam. And I'm going to cut off this front seam so that my beautiful butterfly will open up. Isn't it fabulous?
It's so pretty.
That's all of my ability right there in the butterfly. Okay, so this is a beautiful butterfly. Now, I'm going to take this black marker. It is a Sargent art marker. Maybe I'll take a Crayola marker. You've heard of that one. And I'm going to put a line. It's black. This one's kind of out of ink, so I'm going to choose a different one. Maybe the Sargent one is better. Oh, much better. I've never heard of Sargent. The Rose Art ones work the best, just so you know. Okay, I'm going to draw a black line on my beautiful butterfly, just about, oh, maybe 1/8 of an inch. You see it? Now I'm going to dip this in water. What's going to happen?
It'll bleed.
It'll bleed. It will absorb the water. What color will it bleed?
Purple. Yeah, black. Green.
Purpley, grayish. Green. Because light black is gray, is it not? That's what kids will say. That's why I'm leaving it that way. Some said green. Why would you say green?
Because sometimes when the marker doesn't work, it looks green.
Oh, it looks green. Yeah. Some said purplish. Why purplish? Because your bruise is black and then it turns purplish and then yellow.
I feel like it would either have a green, blue, or purple undertone.
Oh, undertones. I like it. Now I'm going to dip this in the water just to the point that it touches the marker. Can some of you see what's happening?
Yeah, there's green and bluish, like turquoisey.
Ooh,
Okay,
pretty.
how would you get turquoise? Got to be a little yellow, hasn't there? What did you just say?
All the colors are black.
Black is all colors.
Okay, that's cool.
So you let it bleed, you let it absorb, you let it whatever you want to call it, till it gets all the way up. Then when it dries, you'll be able to see all colors. Somewhere up here I brought, Look at the colors. So then on my bulletin board at South Elementary, I put what color is black? It's all colors. What color is white?
No colors.
The absence of color, right? But you can see that you can see just about all the colors. To get green, what color do we have to have?
Blue.
So there's got to be some yellows and some blues and some reds, right? And some purples and some pinks. And look at the turquoise around the edge of all of them. So you can kind of see these are just leftovers that I had from. Now you get to make a beautiful butterfly. Inferring, predicting. We predicted what we thought would happen to the marker, right? It hadn't happened yet. We predicted what we thought would happen by feeling the coffee filter. Okay, it's kind of like paper. We know it's going to absorb. We predicted because we kind of know what black marker does. Most of your kids will predict that this would be all gray. Because when you put a dark color in water, it makes a lighter same color, right? That's their thinking. So you have 10 minutes. Right back there, you can make a beautiful butterfly if you want. It's all set up. You now have predicting, inferring, and observing lesson plans. I will hand this one out, I promise. When you get in your groups, so take one of these. This is the format that you will type up your 2 little mini lessons. If you signed up for inferring, you're going to teach 2 little mini lessons on inferring, right? If you signed up for predicting, you're going to teach 2 little mini lessons on predicting, your group is. This is the format that you'll type it up in. So you will leave here with 4, 5, 6 lesson plans to teach each of the process skills. This isn't due until, I mean, it's down the road a little ways. So be thinking about what you want to do. Now, if you want to do a big one, where you do a demonstration, you will only have 30 minutes max. You can teach one and talk about the second one. Does that make sense? If you have time, you can teach both of them, but you only have 30 minutes. On the back, here's a representation of pigs, all of the process skills. So take one of those. Here is your beautiful butterfly. I have a book that's called The Beautiful Butterfly. I read that. I would make this into an art, integrate art, and I would have them predict what they think would happen. Okay, now you kids, those of you that can still be a kid, what's a question? What do you want to do with your butterfly?
I want to invent a color.
Different colors, exactly. What will red do? What will purple do? Can I do a rainbow one? I don't know, can you? I'll leave that back there for a couple of days. If you don't want to get to it today, you can get to it. But write your name on your butterfly, because when it dries, you think you'll remember. You won't remember. Questions? Concerns? Worries? Yes?
These process skills are like a group thing, right?
Yes. And you're signed up. I think there's 2 of you for each, or 3. Right here. Do March 16th, March 23rd. So we'll do 3 one day and 3 the next. When we get back in 2 weeks, I'll do the other 3 process skills with more demonstrations. If you really need this to make your own beautiful butterfly, remember to cut the sides off so it opens. Questions? Everybody's good? How's Practicum? Any worries about Practicum?
Wait, I have a question. They have parent-teacher conference tomorrow? Yes. Do we go? Do we
go for a little while? I would watch at least one parent-teacher conference. Ask if you can sit in on one, just so you kind of know what they look like. If the teacher has things for you to do, like maybe clean the corner of the room or grade papers or something, you can do that. Or if there's nothing for you to do, then leave. You're okay to leave. Is that good? But I would watch 1 or 2 parent-teacher conferences. Okay. Just to get a feel. And then do anything your teacher has to do, maybe plan a lesson or do whatever. Otherwise, you can leave when they start. Are we good? Yes.
Is tomorrow, oh wait, do I have
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay, is tomorrow the day that we're doing the